Hey guys, can you hear me? Ryan and Ed, how are you guys?
Hey guys.
Good. How are you guys?
I am having a little video difficulty, so I may have to do this by using my audio. I apologize. Um, my computer's a little old. Um, so yeah, so we're right now we're supposed to be talking about getting ready for the season, the high school season, WPIAL season, um, PIAA soccer, all of that, and right now we're sitting here in the middle of a pandemic, and I trying to move forward and trying to make the most of everything. And obviously, there's been a lot of controversy in the past few days and past few weeks, and but I try not to focus on that so much tonight. I this is our first edition of what I would like to be many editions of our Coach's Corner, where we have an opportunity to talk to coaches throughout the course of this typical season and around the year round. So, but guys, just like to maybe get your feedback in terms of how things are going and with each of you and what your thoughts are about high school soccer at the moment.
Ryan, you can go.
Okay.
Me?
Okay. Hey,
Hold. I mean, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say. So I'm actually gonna be helping out in the fall. So I don't know. Do you want me to, for the sake of no bias?
Yeah,
Um,
no, and let's just you know what, obviously want to get the coach's perspective. So
okay.
your
Yeah.
perspective is valuable, and whether you're coaching, whether any one of us are coaching now or not, I think it's important to for us to get a better handle on it just kind of see how it's going. I did a story a couple of weeks ago featuring, I think, three or four different coaches provided different feedback from bigger schools, smaller schools, and maybe just give me kind of an idea of what's going on with you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the club, I mean, it's been weird. Like not coaching for I don't know, not coaching in the fall last year, and then essentially not getting a spring season. So doing a lot of training, like for the Century guys, some exhibition games here inter squad, but it's just been a really strange year and just kind of calibrating like right now you pretty much have like your up and coming young kids kind of looking into your fall season. This kid performed really well at the club level. He's probably going to step into a role of a senior that's gone. um, you don't really have that. I mean, some of these schools have been training and participating, but there was a lot of restrictions in June, and it's just a hard way to kind of calibrate where teams are. Maybe you put teams at a larger disadvantage, heading into the fall without the younger players being able to play, through the spring. Maybe if you've had players, a more consistent team of, you didn't have a lot of graduation. You had guys that played larger roles in the fall, looking to expand upon that heading into this fall. But it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, just I'll be coaching, like helping out with the team in Quad A, and just trying to roll through the rosters and like, when was the last time you saw these guys? Like even for tryout season for club, it's like you're at the age where you get to a certain age where who you'd like to have come to your club or your team, and because you saw them play, you've played against them, they ran amok against you, whatever, and you don't have that. You don't have that baseline, so it's really difficult. And then from that standpoint, like what are these guys doing if you're not training a lot or not getting enough exposure to games? Or players working out? Are they going to be fit? Are they hitting the gym? Are they playing video games? Are they not active? Are they not interested as much as soccer? I mean, there's just so much to think about that, me not being part of it, as a player or on that side of it, just kind of understanding we don't have the opportunity to coach guys, but it's just been such a whirlwind. And then for the continual back and forth on we're active, we're not active, we're active, we're not active, it's just been really difficult to, have momentum in terms of like, enthusiasm. And I mean, every time you get together with a group, it's fun, but, enthusiasm towards the season and the work that needs to be put in. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of been my take, with all this stuff going on.
Ed, you're close to the girls' game, and you coached the girls' game. What things have you been hearing? Have you talked to any coaches? What's going on that side of it?
Yeah, I took some time to actually reach out to a couple coaches just to see what's been going on, how they've been adapting, and then obviously with the delay that's been put upon us. And it's all they're all about the same as far as they're doing their conditioning. They're going to pretty much use the same 2-week delay to continue just doing conditioning and some touching of the ball. Most of them all have club connections, and they understand that kind of like what Ryan's saying. You do some training there and you see some kids, but obviously the kids at the club aren't always on your high school team. But some of these schools, as with some of the coaches I spoke to, they're pretty club heavy, so they might not be as stressed out worrying about their players coming in, maybe being fit or, haven't touched the ball, where some schools, that might not have that heavy club presence, they might be out there training and doing their conditioning, but they're not getting the touches or the amount of touches that, say, another is right now. And unfortunately, they all kind of have the same pattern, but the unfortunate part actually is they just don't know where to go with it. Like, speaking of one coach, he was trying to figure out, with the delay, okay, he doesn't want to overdo it with his players because he wants to try and ramp it up as they head into season, especially with a season that's going to be, not as many games. So you kind of want to go into the season starting to hit your stride and get your peak going where, in the past, you played so many out-of-section games. So you can use those in different manners depending on what you're trying to accomplish with your team. If you're a team that's just trying to get into playoffs, those teams usually can use out-of-section games to try and learn and, develop something and change something up, whereas, a strong team inside of a classification needs those wins. So that's taken away. So it's a juggling act right now for a lot of the coaches, but they're just they're playing the game and just waiting for a little bit further direction right now.
Yeah, and on that note, Ryan, you both alluded to the fact that conditioning is always an issue for coaches heading in. I think younger players today seem like they come into camp training when practices, if you will, start. I know a lot of the Quad A club teams have been able to get out there in the bigger schools in bigger numbers and even potentially scrimmaging. But does this extra time maybe help in terms of some of the little things, the technical training and the conditioning? You think that might help? We've seen that at different levels. We've seen it be successful. I think so far from what I've seen watching professionals at a completely different level is that they've had a lot more time to focus on fitness, and I think it's helped a little bit. But what are both of your thoughts? Maybe start with Ryan in terms of both fitness and technical training for the high school kids.
Yeah, that's these guys that were on their own, the technical stuff was all they could really do. Obviously, they could have been doing fitness, but they can do that on their own, prior to the pandemic. But I'm kind of interested to see, what kind of injury rate there's going to be. It feels like guys just roll in. You look at that Beadling, that 03 Beadling team, those guys go to nationals until the end of July. So they probably just roll it into high school. This year they might have actually got a break, especially at those age groups. They play a lot of soccer. Even just with the way that the potential schedule for the fall sets up, I think it's a pretty big advantage for certain teams because, as Ed alluded to, those out-of-section games may have just been filler on the schedule for some of these sections that just have a murderer's row every night. There's a battle every night. You kind of spread out your season a little bit. But in terms of heading into camp, I would think it's kind of positive. You get more time to kind of establish the culture, the team, whatever makeup you want to have heading into the season. And you're not really forced to do like 2-a-days or 3-a-days or jam, a week and a half of fitness when your team doesn't come in shape right up into the, to the beginning of the season. You get actually some lead time. So you're not really stressing the kids' physical act. I think that's going to be the biggest key. I think enough of these guys are playing, club soccer and they're on a ball or they're dedicated enough. And, even at the smaller schools where you don't have a ton of club players, those guys that you have are still going to be doing what they were doing and it's still going to be huge factors in the game. But I just think that, from a team perspective, just staying healthy is going to make it probably a lot more parity maybe because, some teams lose 1 or 2 guys that are key. It could really change the dynamic of that team. I think we've seen it year over year, but if a team can stay healthy and do, the wave loading in terms of the stamina of what they need to do heading into the season. I mean, it's going to be tough. The thing I'm kind of focused on with some of the players I have, from club heading into the high school season is, how quickly are they going to get back up to speed game wise? Maybe not so much physically, but maybe mentally. Because I think that's the thing. I mean, maybe these kids have been playing enough FIFA where they can actually make quick decisions. But I feel like at this age, that's going to be a really tough thing to, get the computer processor a little bit faster, getting back up to speed. I think the fitness, that's going to take care of itself. And even with this extended time, even if kids aren't coming in shape, coaches will get them right. But be very interested to see kind of, what that process is. I've seen some of my guys got together. I seen like, looks like players took a step back, just getting thrown into it, not training, not doing enough. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to probably be injuries. I wonder if we're really going to be down because a lot of these players have had a decent chunk of time off.
Yeah, Ed, just your thoughts on the conditioning and technical part of it.
Yeah. Looking at some of the different schools that I talked to and these coaches that I've just recently talked to, like I said, one coach is trying to time it with his conditioning and not overdo it. He cut back on his 2-a-days that he'll have once they officially can start camp that they traditionally would do. Whereas I know some of the schools, reference the one that really doesn't have a lot of club players. They went out and started to use the app, like for the technical stuff, to try and get their players touching a ball. Which we see a lot of the clubs, Century's using it, Beadling has used it. I believe there's a couple other clubs that have used it. And the Riverhounds RDA came up with their kind of own little system they were doing with their players. But so this high school went out and did it. And I know a couple other have referenced through social media that they were doing this. And so, that there's creative ways always to do it and keep those touches going and keep that fitness. The big challenge, I guess, really for the coaches is if they aren't on, seeing that player or being around that player, depending on how their program's set up and what involvement they might have in club or whatever, is truly how are they keeping that player motivated? And that's a tough part because you can put stuff out there, but again, we're talking high school kids. Yeah, I'll get to it. Procrastinate a little bit, and then show up. But like Ryan said, we're going to see too, maybe with these injuries, because maybe someone doesn't come in really fit and, all of a sudden they're trying to play top speed and there goes the hammy or, something of that level. So hopefully that's not the case. Everybody has enough time to get prepared, but we also know it is a sport. If we are going, there's going to be an injury of some sort. It's just, can you limit them like maybe you have in the past?
Yeah, and the other piece, injuries are always going to be an issue. Having the athletic training staff and all of that, I'm sure that's those are some of the logistics that the schools, I'm sure, are working very closely. There seems to be determination from the PIAA and the WPIL, as we saw today in their their press conference that they're going to make every effort to, to be as safe as possible and follow all the protocols that they will need to keep everybody safe. But I'm gonna table that for the last question I'd like to get to. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to both of you about, we've seen the dominoes fall now in college athletics, Division III, Division II, a good chunk of Division I, and maybe even all of Division I, who knows, by the end of the week or whatever. How does that affect especially the seniors,